Hello, it's your fave, Beauty Sleep. We're going to talk a little bit today about the making of our The Whole Damn Cake album that came out a few months ago.
We're going to take you through all the songs on the album. We want to talk a little bit about how we wrote them and how we produced them as a songwriting production duo, and just take you behind the scenes of what it takes to make such a crazy record.
This is how you bake the cake.
Nice.
Right down the camera. Unreal. So the first song we're going to talk about is the first song on the record. It's Up for Air.
There's a really old quote from philosophers, which is know thyself. And I think about it all the time because I actually think that's the hardest thing to do, is to really know who you are and to really embrace who you are and live your life as yourself. Like, it's very hard to do that. And this album is us trying to figure out who we are and embrace all parts of ourselves, especially the parts we find quite scary. This song is intended to be in the middle of that journey, and it's intended to sound like how terrifying it is to be in the middle of a journey, because it's easy to romanticize the start and the end, but you often kind of block out the middle. So that's what Up for Air is about. It's about being in the middle of a very long journey and not really knowing how it's going to turn out.
I think it initially had a title of Still Sad, Still Sexy, and it was essentially just, it was me sort of, dicking around on a vocoder, and it was very vague. It had a vibe, but it wasn't being defined. It was like, I feel things, but I don't know what they are yet. But it sort of set the tone for like that kind of, I don't know. It's like you're not at the start, you're not at the end, but you're not giving up. And I suppose it's retaining sort of some semblance of hope, I suppose.
Yes. And I'm really proud of the lyrics. We went very hard in for like, what if I was physically on a journey, like through the desert? There's so many lines in that. I look to the skyline like there's someplace else I could go, which I just think is so perfectly encapsulates feeling like I want something different, but where the fuck am I going?
Comfort us in, we forever cling to the weight of the fear. So dear.
Well, I think it's all really physical in terms of the language. It's like, the fear having like weight on you, and like, I don't know, just stepping out into like, I suppose, safety or freedom, and also just being isolated and trapped and trying to look for something else. It's like this kind of reticent yearning, which probably underscores lots of what we do.
And it has three really distinct sections. So it's that kind of journey, and then the middle section, which builds watch the lives I followed fade away, moving on because nothing ever stays, that kind of like trying to momentous.
Well, it makes sense while you're getting older, and
yeah, which is obviously a theme in the record as well.
We're as young as we ever were. Why do you think we put it first on the record?
I think we put it first in the record because we had already released singles before we decided the track listing. We released Big and Bad and Big Sky. We had decided that Radical Happiness was going to come out next. And we kind of deliberately did that. We thought, let's lead with the end of the journey, right? There's a lot of sad moments in this album, but the first things people should hear is the end of the journey, the happy, the confident, the empowered, because that's kind of the point of the journey.
Yeah, they're sort of triumphant, shouts from the rooftops.
Yeah.
And
so we just thought that for someone to be like listening to Radical Happiness and Big and Bad and being excited to put on the record, for it to be such an insecure song, like, it's a song about so much insecurity and doubt and change, I think sets the tone for the whole journey. I just thought, if you were a fan, if you had listened to the singles, I thought that was an interesting first song, and sets the tone.
So this is Up for Air. We're going to get into the session and have a little look around and see what we can find.
Okay.
Welcome to Up for Air. We're going to have a listen to the session and see what we find interesting, what you might find interesting. First, we're going to listen to the original demo recording. Okay, brace yourselves, everyone. This came from me, I think, flittering about a day after a recording with someone else. I found a vocoder plugin that I was using for another session. I was trying to figure out how it worked. Some of this stuff ended up staying. That's the one more time, just to make sense of it all. So that became the verse, and that did stay. Those chords stayed. I think it's a different tempo.
Maybe
It's
a different key.
maybe a different key. It's
Obviously, vibe changed a lot. There's a lot of like lovely driving indie drums and shit there that we axed.
Yeah, I was thinking, listening to it, it's so bizarre because it really feels like I'm doing everything to hide myself, possibly. Like it's like ba-um, 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 ba, like big, like classic indie, and like the vocoder is so obscured in terms of what I'm actually saying or what I'm trying to say. So I think it's listening now when, you know, the full circle moment of this was like actually just, you know, stripping it into something that was a song with like chords and lyrics that were ended up being quite earnest and like quite emotional and quite honest, I suppose. I think for me, settling the groove and getting the progression from like beginning to end was the main thing. So it started with a vibe here, like this sort of stuff. Had a bit of the shots, stuff, bit of that. So that's all drum machine. Got Ross to overdone some toms then just behind us. That was all, I guess, a vehicle to find the initial chords of the guitar. There's only one track of guitar in this. There's like an old like archtop guitar from the 20s in Start Together where we recorded some of this, and that's in addition to like reverse guitars, which is just me in the spare room playing through like a reverse reverb, became a lot of the basic parts of this. So that was part of the bed that became the intro, I guess. And like there's so much beautiful little like
Gorgeous synths.
I think that's actually a Juno, but we're using the arpeggiator on the
you're
Moog to
right.
control the Juno. I think is what we did there. There's 4 drum kits in this song, so that was drum kit 1 with the toms and the drum machine. So we went from the toms, drum machine into like a, and this is me in the studio saying to Ross like just hi-hat, kick drum, tempo, no like melodic reference really for what's happening. That kind of went on to this section, another loop, and then I think I added a delay just to give it like a dotted 8 shuffly ghost note thing. So that's the build essentially up until the end, and that was recorded by I had the chords, said to Ross like it's 1 2 3 4 1 2 boom bam bam dun, dun, dun. So I wanted this end to kill and just become this opening up blossoming section that's completely over the top. The drum sound of this then is like vastly different.
Yeah.
Totally blown out, almost like it reminds me of like a kind of mid 2000s like emo American record, or like it's all room mics that are distressored, distorted.
We said we wanted it to sound like the drums had just exploded at this point.
Yeah, so it's just and I think there were various guitars. I do remember like in this one a last minute edition where it's like you can record something but then you have the freedom to completely you know, manipulate it and make things crazy. So
I forgot
you can
about
even
this guitar.
you can see from the various amounts of little edits here that this was a fun time. So if I just play that with like the drums, I guess. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, so that's sort of the craziness. I think it's quite a simple track really in its bones and it's sort of you know, it's message if you like, but we had a lot of fun kind of building that world. And yeah, do you want to swap? You can talk about
swap.
synthesizers and vocal.
So, talking about the synths, we wanted the middle section. So we said it's in 3 parts, right? The middle section was like the build, and we had a lot of fun with the build in that section. So let's listen to the synth. Actually, there's those real violins as well. So synths and strings, which is arguably my whole MO. When we come into riff 2, we wanted it to open up so you can hear those lovely strings, which I'm just playing on like my violin several times. I also feel like there's a little mellotron quartet too. That's more obviously strings in the box. But that lovely quartet sound with the real strings on top. That's my problem with synth strings. A lot of the time they can feel really like static, and synth strings are so human, and I love it when you can hear almost like folksy like scratches on the strings. So there's that section which I really love. We also have our beautiful vocoder. That repeated. I actually can't remember how we did that. We were just playing with the because it's going through one of the synths, so we were just messing with that, the little shifter. I love the sound of that. The very outro is, I think, so magical with that little vocoder adds just like a huge amount of emotion, which is really nice. And then the only other thing that I'll say is there's this lovely little cat synth, which I just, again, I was having a lot of fun with anything that you could go within this. There was the cat synth as well, which is my favorite if I can find him. That and actually the Moog, which we had that lovely like push through. And again, you're hearing all these like mistakes and everything. We were actually, all of the synths and string parts, we didn't loop. We wanted them to, because there's a lot of loops obviously in the like guitar reverses and stuff like that, but the arpeggiator and these, we were like, let's play through the whole thing. So it feels like there's a journey of growth. That's it. So all of those wee moments, I think, add a lot. I mean, if you listen to the whole thing, I don't know if you can hear it, but I hope and pray you can feel it. And all of the crazy happens here. You probably can't hear it, but feel it. There's a lot of layers in this. We had so much fun putting it together. Also had a bit of a headache putting it together, but that's some fun things in Up for Air.
Sense of it all. I know it'll make me hurt. I'm ready to fall. Every year a new way to be bold. I look to the skyline like there's someplace else I could go. Time to go. From the cup just to top me up, but we never arrive. Every day, stare into the clear. I comfort us in, we forever cling to the way.